Mike's Daily Podcast.
Well, I've given up. I'm not going to talk about the Kavanaugh thing anymore because I just obviously don't get any feedback from you about it, and this is my saying anything about it doesn't help at all. So yesterday I was saying how you should vote. Make sure you vote. If you're a woman, you should definitely vote Democrat to send a very strong
Mike's Daily Podcast
statement to Washington that you can't treat women like this. But now I'm hearing
Mike's Daily Podcast
in tweets from our president that apparently he's tapped into a vein in a part of America that seems insane. It's bro culture. It's the return of the bros. The bros are saying, oh, poor us, poor men. Oh, we're being falsely accused all the time. We never do anything wrong.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Oh, no. Oh, I call BS on that
Mike's
line of thinking, even though
Daily
that's exactly what my
Podcast
mother said to me yesterday.
Yeah.
So we're having a nice little conversation. I call her in Florida, and just out of the blue, she goes, Michael, your very smart lady friend, what does she think about all this craziness about this Me Too movement run amok? And I'm, well, I don't have her here with me at the moment. And she's like, oh, yes, my mom says, oh, look who just walked in, by the way. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. What are we talking about? Nothing. Are we talking about the Me Too movement? Yes. Mike Matthews, this is a very important movement because it's a movement of people moving in a direction where we end violence. I know. That's the whole at the base. That's exactly at the very root. That is what Me Too is about. I know. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman! And this is John Deere, the engineer, Mike. This is a very interesting topic for your show today. Yeah, Mike, I'm really offended.
But if you get offended, that's the way the cookie crumbles. No.
Well, so my mom, she's like, she does not watch Fox News, and she does not...
And here's today's podcast picture.
Listen to conservative talk radio. This is just thoughts that she comes up with on her own, which leads me to believe that maybe there aren't as many talking points as I thought there was. I thought there was a handbook, Basil, being distributed to all conservative commentators everywhere. Like, this is exactly what you have to talk about. Talk about the fact that Brett Kavanaugh is being unfairly criticized, blah, blah, blah. And apparently, so my mom, who I wouldn't say she lives in a cave, but she doesn't watch, she is disconnected from Fox News. And hey, how about this fun picture of Basil at Lake Merritt? Yay! Lake Merritt, Basil. That's a good idea. I think what a combination. We need something to cheer us up. See that picture and all my podcast pictures at mikesdailypodcast.com. This picture taken just a few days ago. Yes, I'm avoiding the Daytona Beach pictures. I've oversaturated my website with Daytona Beach pictures and my Instagram, which you can follow me. Just look me up, mikesdailypodcast.com. Isn't it like Instagram Instagram.com/Mike's Daily Podcast is the way to find it if you're going through the internet portal. Or if you have this stupid app, you can do it that way. I don't have the app. Actually, I use this plugin through Chrome to post on Instagram because I am so anti-app. I am so they take up too much room on my phone. They hog up space. And you think that they're just doing one thing, but then they're collecting information on you in another. No. I say an emphatic no.
No.
So what I was saying was, my mom, is the feeling that Brett Kavanaugh is being completely unfairly criticized. And, but she agrees that Blasey Ford's testimony is real. And now an ex-boyfriend of Blasey Ford says that Blasey Ford apparently knows how to outdo a lie detector test by, apparently she helped a friend of hers get through a lie detector test. Or, no, it's not an ex-boyfriend of Blasey Ford, but was it an ex-boyfriend of a friend? Anywho, something came up about that. I just feel at the root of it, we are saying women don't matter. I echo what the Anna Marie and Maria said at the beginning of the week to Jeff, that guy, Jeff, not Corker, Flake, Jeff Flake. Corker Flake. It sounds like I'm eating cereal. The point is that the Yeti movie did not do well. You know what other movie did not do well? The stupid Chappaquiddick movie that came out a couple months ago. And these movies heavily advertised on conservative talk radio. Heavily. Why the Yeti movie on conservative talk radio? I don't know. Was there some Christian theme behind the Yeti movie, the Smallfoot thing, that we should all accept each other for what we are, whatever stupid thing? I don't know, but the Yeti movie bombed, so I'm happy about that. It was in the top 5, but apparently it did not make the money. It cost a lot more than it made. So, and apparently Disneyland has banned chairs, benches. Well, they have chairs at their restaurants at Disneyland. And I guess at Disney World, at all the Disney parks, Epcot, the animal one, the movie one, and the California one that talks about California. That is the most ridiculous thing ever. So I went there when it first opened, Disneyland, California. It is a park that shows you the state that you're in. Why go to these fake representations of Monterey, the Palace of Fine Arts, wine country, when you could just friggin' rent a car and drive? I don't get that at all. Oh my God, that was the stupidest idea. One of the worst ideas they had, and I actually rode this ride, and you can find on YouTube, some people have videotaped it way back. It's long since been destroyed, because now they've turned it into the Monsters, Inc. ride, I think. Was you basically are being chased by paparazzi. Paparazzi. Da-na-na-na-na-na. It's Lady Gaga. Do you know, I want you to do something too when you're on YouTube. Play Paparazzi by Lady Gaga and then play Let It Go from the Frozen movie. And somehow those two songs are very similar. I don't know how it is, but I was singing in my head the other day, Paparazzi, and all of a sudden it turned into Let It Go. And I think the choruses are... Anyway, I've got out on a tangent. Ah! See, there's so much more to talk about than this stupid Brett Kavanaugh thing. To which my mom, Disneyland, California, real quick, wrapping that up. Stupid. Why? There are people, this is what freaks me out, is people will visit California and they will not go see the Palace of Fine Arts. They'll see the stupid one at Disneyland, California, which is like 2 feet tall. Or they'll go and see that, they mimic other things. The Golden Gate Bridge you see when you first walked in. Go see the real one. It's beautiful. Walk across. But we're big fat friggin' baloopas that don't care. Okay, so this is what's frightening me, is Trump tweeted this morning something, and he tapped into a vein in the American subconscious, the bro culture, the white males who put him in power. He's tapped back into that vein, and, there was really nothing getting the Republicans going before the November elections. They were pretty complacent. And then all of a sudden this Brett Kavanaugh thing, which, see, I've been thinking, this is going to bring out all the Democrats, all the women that are going to come out and they're going to go, the ones that aren't affiliated with any party, they're going to vote Democrat because they're going to go, oh my God, look at how Republicans treat women. This is ridiculous. And they're going to vote for the Democrat. But It's apparently Mr. Trump awakened a sleeping giant, because now there's all this rumblings and polls are starting to show that white males are going to come out and vote in November because they feel that they're being unfairly criticized, that they're done with this Me Too movement. To which I say, yeah, when you go home to your wives, your daughters, your moms, unless they're my mom, go ahead and try and explain that. There was a very fascinating thing on NPR yesterday. Not only does Steve Perry have a new album. Yes! The lead singer of Journey has a new album. I thought that guy was never going to record material. But apparently, he had a very traumatic time, well, sad time in his life at the beginning of the 2010s. He met a woman who had cancer. He knew she had cancer. He met her during a documentary, the filming of a documentary. He knew the filmmaker, and the filmmaker invited him to come to this, and they were going through some of the filming. I didn't know that Steve Perry's all into movies and stuff. And apparently he sees this woman sitting in the audience of this thing they were filming and goes, "Oh my God, who's she? She's beautiful." Who? And the filmmaker said, "I know her, actually, but I have to warn you that the cancer has gone into her bones and all this other stuff, terrible, terrible stuff." And and Steve Perry goes, "Can I get her email?" And she's like, "Okay." Now, does that sound a little bit wrong? Are men allowed to email women? That's a question for God. Yes. Women are, as long as you're not sending women spam. I don't know. Apparently this was okay through a friend of the woman. This is why this email is okay. I don't know if this would get on to some kind of Supreme Court hearing and be an issue, but at any rate, Mr. Perry called this woman up. They became lovers, and one day, wrapped in each other's lovers' bliss, she said to Steve, "Look, I don't know what's going to happen to me, but if I die, you have to promise me that you will make music again, because so many people love your voice, and you don't be with Journey, because we know you hate singing those songs with Journey. You don't like the band anymore, even though he put it away. All that grudge, all that whatever he has for Journey got put away during the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. If you saw that was wonderful. He graciously thanked all the band members, their manager, etc., and just it was beautiful. So he goes, "Okay, I promise you I will make music." And sure enough, he went back home to the state he's from, and bought a Harley because he can, and drove around and said, "Oh my gosh, I feel music again, thanks to a Harley." What's the big story with Harley? They moved out of the country, but there was something else new about them that I just heard in the news, and I didn't write it down. Darn it. I did write down, however, that Austin restaurants they're not allowed to toss food anymore. You can't throw away food, which I love this. Our restaurant culture, and we have in the Bay Area, food prices are through the roof. I don't eat out anymore because it's ridiculous. And then I go to Florida and see my mom, and food prices are ridiculous there. So, but all that food just gets thrown away, because at the end of the day, at restaurants, people are tired. They want to go home. Their feet are aching. They've worked hard. The last thing what they want to think about is, what do we do with all this extra food? But now it's the law in Austin, Texas, that you cannot throw away food. The food has to be donated, because it's the law, to the homeless, to animals, to compost, to something. But you just can't dump it. Now, we have in California, we've got these mandatory composting bins everywhere now. So, and even though people are so stupid and they throw a styrofoam cup into the composting bin, how friggin' dumb. Oh, as dumb as Disneyland, California. What is the point? Oh, So is there going to be a bro wave in a couple of months or a couple of weeks? It's only a month away now. I don't know. I hope not. But Trump has this uncanny ability to tap into that awful basket of deplorable part of our country. And listen, that's a subjective view, but you got to admit there's some nasty things that happen when you let a bunch of drunken white men run a country and put down women. There's something wrong with that, don't you think? A little bit. Back to the story of what was the Harley gonna do? Harley was gonna make I don't know, some kind of thing with as Mike is scrambling to try and find it. He's not gonna find it, not during this podcast, which comes to you at mikesdailypodcast.com. Ooh, look, a close-up of the storm on Jupiter from the Juno space probe. And Russia was behind the attacks? The new weapon against Russian cyber attacks, naming and shaming. The UK has blamed Russian military intelligence for a string of cyber attacks. Ooh, get them. The Senate has gotten the FBI report as of this moment. There's an interesting thing about and the White House is saying, do it, vote, get him in here, Brett Kavanaugh. I say get him in, vote him in, and look what happens. Watch what happens. Donald Trump said, wow, such enthusiasm and energy for Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Look at the energy, look at the polls. Something very big is happening. He is a fine man and a great intellect. The country is with him all the way. Hell no. Hell no. Where the hell? So this is the world we live in. Please vote for Democrats. Vote that way, because this is a horrible, horrible part of our country that is popping up. And it needs to be whack-a-mole back. I don't know. Do you like the return of the bros? Look, I knew some... someone else is saying Kavanaugh lied. A Yale roommate. Brett Kavanaugh lied under oath about drinking. James Roche. I think this guy was talking... So the people that have been quiet for so long that have known Brett Kavanaugh are finally coming out and saying stuff. But so that's where we got the FBI report. White House saying that pretty much means, I think, that they didn't find anything. That's what it. Senate delays Kavanaugh vote. So, but that hasn't been delayed. Wait, nothing. Never mind. Look over there, because it's the end of the show. As we go outside of Café Anyway, we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. So the fact that conservative talk show hosts are on what are called news radio stations, and they spend their shows telling you to vote Republican. And let's say, what's a liberal comparison to that? A liberal podcast, much like this one. Or what's comparable is NPR. No, because NPR never says to you explicitly, vote Democrat, vote Democrat. Yes, there are liberal leanings, definitely, in NPR stories, but they never say to you overtly. But overtly you get it with the conservative talk show hosts on news stations. So one second you got a news story, like here's the traffic, here's the weather, here's the what's going on in the Senate, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you've got a conservative talk show host saying, vote Republican. But that's the world we live in. And I just try and point these things out. I also try and point out, when I work with bizarre people, I told you a couple weeks ago about a woman I produce a show for. She came in late to do her show. She's got two parts to her show, and she has a guest, and she comes in, and she's all, you got to call the guest. So I call the guest, and she does the interview, and I give her the sign that the end of her segment is over, that she, this is the first part of her segment, and then the second segment is coming up. I assumed she knew that. Well, apparently she didn't. So she wraps up the interview, hangs up on the caller, and then I go, okay, well, we have one more segment. She goes, what? And then she gets all mad at me about that. And then I put it away. I said, forget about it. I talked about it a little bit on the show. Isn't that odd? That kind of thing. Well, yesterday, she's in one of the rooms talking to a coworker, and I walk in, and she goes, "Oh, and this guy, he messed up my show. He did this, he did that, blah, blah, blah," and brings it all up again. And I was just standing there stunned. I'm like, "What, really? In front of me you're doing this?" And she goes, "And Mike is just..." Well, she did say I was polite, but I was too polite that I didn't tell her what was that apparently all this is my fault. And it's because I was too polite, and I didn't speak up fast enough. And I go, "Oh, it's because I grew up in the South, and I talk slow." Which, if you've listened to the show, you know I did not grow up in the South. I lived in the South for 2 years, but I was born and raised in California, where we usually speak quickly. And so she's throwing all this out and throwing me under buses, as the coworkers told me later. So yeah, she threw you under a couple of buses just then. And that was a great way to end my day. I basically said to her and to the coworker, "I'm leaving now. I've been here since 5 o'clock. Goodbye." And she said something as I'm walking away. "Yeah, I've been up since 3 o'clock. I love it when people throw that out. Yeah, you got up at 3 o'clock because you can't sleep because you drink freaking too much Coke or something. Don't blame me for your bad sleeping habits. I have to get up at 4 in the morning. Even if I'm having a wonderful night's sleep, I have to get up at 4 in the morning. Ugh. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this wonderful podcast where I've complained a lot and pointed out the potentially bad bro wave coming in about a month. So be aware of that, and be aware of people that are calling you up. Oh, one thing my mom did tell me that was interesting in our conversation. She's getting calls from a fake Apple support company that call her up and they say, "Ma'am, your Apple product, do you have an Apple phone? We need to reboot that right now. Give us your social security number." Yeah, it's a scam. Apparently they call Florida primarily because they know there's so many seniors there. Yikes! Go to ssa.gov and report those type things, is what I say. And watch out for that male guilt. If you are a male and you have something guilty in your past, work it out. Don't be all anti-woman and vote Republican. That's not the right way to do it. But I'd like to just sum up by saying, I mean no ill will. That's the end of the show. Next show, it's going to be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Have a great day. And that was episode 1717. 1717! Oh, 1717.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!